Farmers in Australia have always been about adapting to change, though their contributions to Australia remain relatively unchanged. They have always contributed to sustaining our way of life, communities, economy, and have been a backbone of Australia for many years. John Lolicato is a second-generation farmer in the southern New South Wales near a small country town called Barham in the Murray-Darling Basin. His family history goes back to 1930, when his grandparents and their children migrated from Sicily. John starts his day early in the morning, and after a quick breakfast he's off to work in the paddock. Paddocks that have been irrigated the day before need draining, and he breaks open bank after bank, letting the water move on into the next paddock. Other paddocks are also in need of water, and he fires up the pumping station to let the water run in. The paddocks contain cereals such as wheat and barley.
Rice is probably one of our main crops. Rice, we start off with rice, and then we usually follow up with cereals for 1 or 2 years and follow up with a clover crop after that. But we have rice, wheat, sheep, cattle.
It's April 2012, a very busy time of year for John. All over his farm, people driving harvesters, trucks and tractors are helping in the harvesting of grain, which yields 1.2 million tonnes Australia-wide each year. The prized grain is rice, and John and 196 other farms are working hard to produce rice for over 4 million people to eat every day.
We use a special front on the header, which is what we call a stripper front. It actually just, it's got like fingers on the front of the header that spin around, and it actually, the fingers run through the crop and actually grab the grain and actually just scoop the grain off the heads and flick it back onto a tray, and then from there it goes into the grain bin, and then from the grain bin it goes into what we call an auger bin, which is towed around with a tractor. They come alongside, and then once the auger bin's full, that goes out, gets out of the paddock out to storage outside the paddock, and then from there it goes straight into a truck, and then from there it goes straight to the storage facilities, which for us it's a little place called Burraboy. The storage sheds that we've got there, bulk storage sheds, they're actually aerated, so they've actually got big fans. The actual sheds have perforated underneath, and the air gets pumped into the sheds and actually draws the moisture out of the crop.
A few hundred kilometres south and a 3.5-hour drive away, John's brother owns his own farm in regional Tatura, approximately 2 hours drive north of Melbourne. Sam's farm contains various orchards including apples and cherries, and also his prestigious walnuts. His farm area is fairly small and manageable part-time. Therefore, Sam also works at the Department of Primary Industries, where he analyses and advises the most efficient techniques of water use and admission.
We've got the pump there that sucks directly out of the main channel.
His work includes research into micro-irrigation systems, which are adapted by many surrounding orchards, some of which include vineyards that supply wineries with high-quality grapes, later made into Australian wines.
With this system here, we have a very precise form of irrigation. We have microjets that wet just a small area, that only wet the root zone. You'll see over here the microjet, so that water is not wasted by running out into the middle of the row just feeding weeds. Australian agriculture is very efficient. We have been for 100 years or more. We have very old soils, very infertile. We have a very variable climate, but we still manage to produce enough food for 60 million people.
We only grow rice when there's water. If there's water up in the dams, we grow it, and if there's no water, we don't grow it. So it actually suits the Australian climate in that it actually follows the sync of whether we've got water in the dams.
We have a population of 20 million. We produce enough food for 60 million, and yet with the booming mining industry, we have a high Australian dollar, so we don't have an export industry. So what do we do with all that extra food?
Australia's productivity and yields are the envy of the world, and it is essential that we respect and contribute to our oldest and wisest industry since colonialisation itself. Because although we need money in our pockets, we also need food in our stomachs, a fact that our farmers will still work so hard to achieve.